Hello everyone, great to be with you again. With regards to my last video, to the people that have watched it, that are content creators and have said nice words, I'd just like to say thank you. It means a lot, and in times like these, it's all about getting together and lifting each other up in the name of Christ, and not putting each other down for the differences that we have. So today I actually wanted to go over Revelation. So there's a few things that I've noticed, and they might have some potential changes. So with regards to this, which I've shown before as the 21-year timeline, I have since updated it. I thought, well, now Luke's is practically out of the way. I started again, and I've just made it so the boxes are bigger so you can see a bit better. I've also changed on the old one. I had 5986 was 2022 to 2023, and I've shifted that. This is being assumptive actually that the escape happens in Tabernacles in October this year, as opposed to the sooner dates that could potentially happen this year. So if the bride escapes before October, then these numbers would need to go back one, so that would go back to 2022, that to 2023. But if the bride escape at Tabernacles, then this is the right dating for the years. So yeah, when I've done this, I've put on here as well the 144 where they're sealed as with the rapture and the two witnesses. But I'll go through Revelation quickly with everyone today and show exactly what I've noticed, and another table I've got as well of how it could potentially be different yet again. So basically, Revelation gives the outlay for the end of days of this age, and you'll find the intros and the prologues and stuff on the first chapter, second and third are messages to the 7 churches, which you can then count as a key with regards to the churches and the 7. And then in 4 is when everything starts. So basically in chapter 4 we have the throne in heaven, and this here describes John going to heaven and seeing the throne of God and the 4 beasts, and even the elders, the 24 elders that are already there. And this is the bride escape, the first group that are due to go potentially this year. And going to try and do population counts in this as well. So if we're looking at the population of the world being 8 billion at the moment, or at the time of the escape, and the escape being somewhat circa 150 million, which could be a small percentage of the church, and could be the percentage of people out there that are diligently seeking the Lord, that are in their Bibles or in their prayers or in their faith one way or another, helping other people, and are actively seeking the Lord and doing the will of the Lord. And the will of the Father is to believe on him who he sent. But this is the escape for chapter 4. So then once everyone that gets up there, there's going to be disappearances upon the earth, and depending, and obviously at some place on the earth when it happens it's going to be daytime, so there's going to be activity, so there's going to be a potential for people to die. You know, if a pilot that's flying a plane is in the escape group, then that plane could potentially crash. Do you know what I mean? I don't mean to say such a devastating thing, but that has the potential to happen. So if you've got circa 10% of the church excuse me, 150 million going, you could potentially have another 50 million passing away in accidents and issues of the event itself. So that 8 billion will go down to 7.8 billion-ish. And then the seals start opening. And the first seal is the White Horse. Right, hang on, let me find. So this is still talking about this is about Christ taking the book from the right hand of the Father, and heard a voice, many angels round about the throne, and there was 10,000 times 10,000, so that's 100 million and thousands of thousands, which is millions. So that would also account for the 150 million that I just mentioned. Sorry, it's 100 million, 10,000 times 10,000 is 100 million. Sorry. Anyway, and then we get into chapter 6, starting with the seals. And the first seal is the White Horse Rider, conquering and conquer. I've said in the past, this could have been the representation of the government with the scam that has demicked the world. So, and you know, it could be that it's the 40 days of the Son of Man coming before the attacks in Israel. So first seal goes with regards to the conquering. I haven't taken any death counts down for that. However, if it was to do, in a sense, in one aspect of understanding to do with the scam, then as people are starting to be aware, there's a higher rate, a mortality rate now than there was before it all began. So there's issues with a lot of people that have taken this thing. So there will be mortality numbers and population reductions in this, but I haven't counted them. And then we go to the second seal, and the second beast say, come and see, and it was the Red Horse Rider that starts war, which begins with civil war in each country and then turns to World War III. The only way that I can see them getting civil war in every country is to just be utterly disastrous in terms of political leads and media and everything, and entertainment. They just need to make everything look worse and worse and worse to make people rise up to the occasion, which is what they want. They want the two beasts, which is the Behemoth and Leviathan. One stands for royalty and oppression, basically, and one stands for people and liberty. And if in the video I done called Script Comp 1, where I read a load of small scriptures, there was one of them in there, and it talks about these two beasts that fight in the end of days, and it talks about how freedom overcomes royalty, how one beast overcomes the other, and one being from the sea and one being from the earth. And later on we'll see in Revelation there's a chapter that's describing the beast from the sea and the beast from the earth. And basically the agenda is, I mean, I don't know if they ever actually intend to implement their NWO or their golden age or whatever, but which is their left and their right end result, apparently, from what they reveal in current days. But what they definitely want is for the people to turn against their own governments, because the governments were put in place by God, and godless people say, why would God put kings in charge of people that then go and oppress them and kill them and rob them and do things like that? But it states in the Bible that God puts people like that over us when we become complacent in our righteousness or in living in the way that God created us to live. And obviously he's a righteous God. He has patience, and he knows that we're in a world of darkness and we're forgetful. So he has a lot of patience with us, but we go through these cycles where people turn away, and then they just get less and less righteous and sin more and more and more until they anger their God. It's like it's a cycle in a sense. Anyway, then the third beast is black horse rider judges enemies, and it's talking about, where did I see that before? Third seal, third beast, say, come and see, and I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. So if you consider before, when I was saying about the white horse being the government acting in apparently righteousness for the sake of the people for a scam, a black horse would be potentially the government being the opposite to acting nice, but intentionally acting evil. And it has a pair of balances in his hand, and in the midst of the four beasts say, a measure of wheat and a penny, and 3 measures of barley a penny, and hurt now not the oil and the wine. So is this talking about the government's being told that they can sell people, you know, the wheat and the barley and the oil and the wine all being people, different types of people, and the oil and the wine being the preferred for God, but the others still being God's harvest, but being sold at excruciatingly high rates. Sorry, low rates for high value, you know, people being sold for nothing. Then he opened the fourth seal, which is death and hell, which followed. So that's 2 of them. His name that sat on him was death, and then hell followed with him, and power was given to them, to both of them, to kill the 4th part of the earth. Excuse me, sorry. So back at the other seal with war, I done a death count reduction of around 300 million. In a world war, when you've got just under 8 billion people, you know, it's quite likely going to be more than 300 million people that might die in that war. But I've basically, these counts are best case scenario to keep the numbers as high as possible. So there's the potential for the numbers to be lower than what I'm saying when I say them. And bear in mind, this is just me calculating. This is nothing to do with, well, in parts where it says this portion of people were killed, then I can work out, I can say it says a third, I can divide my count by 3. And that's a relatively accurate point. But other places I've had to guess like now. So I've taken 300 million off for the World War, and then we got down to the 4th beast, death and hell. Now he was allowed to kill the 4th part of the earth, which is 25%. So I had 7.8 billion before, minus the 300 million from World War III. That goes down to 7.5 billion people left on the earth. And then death and hell, killing a quarter of them, will take the count on earth down to 5.7 billion. And then the 5th seal is the martyrs. And crying out, how long will thou not judge those that dwell on the earth? And they were given white robes, and that they should rest until more have been killed as they. So this is a period of time that carries on for a period. So the 5th seal, how that appears to the people standing upon the face of the earth, I don't know. Maybe they might hear the rocks crying out, or words coming from a loud voice in heaven in the form of lightning or something. I don't know. But this 5th seal is to do with those that are being martyred and those that are yet to be martyred. Excuse me. And then the 6th seal, sorry, and then mountain of the rocks, fall on us and hide us from the face of him that sitteth on the throne. So, oh sorry, yeah, it's up here. So this is the actual rapture. So the first bit, chapter 4 that I was talking about before, that's the escape. When that happens, that'll be like Enoch. It'll be in obscurity, and it's not going to be something seen by the whole world when it happens. It's just going to, there might be sights of lights shooting up into the sky maybe, or it might happen such as with Enoch, that a dark cloud might cover the place, and it will just happen without anyone seeing very much at all. I don't know. But with this is the rapture. This is the second escape of the multitude, and some say it's somewhat 80–90% of the population of the world, whereas I don't think it is. I think that there's only about probably 1.5 billion people on the earth that are Christians that I'm aware of. So being that the first group's 150 million, this group I would imagine is 1.5 billion, and then the 144,000 as well. So they're like adding zeros onto each them numbers. So yes, so this sixth seal is the actual rapture. And by the way, once I've gone through all these quickly, I'll go through the tables again, and then I'll show you the other table I've got, and I'll show how it's got potential to be substantially different to what even what I've said. And so this is how it happens. So the rapture is going to be visible by everyone, the whole world, because the firmament that holds the waters above away from the waters below, and the firmament is a fourth state of water as well. It's something that not even the bombs that armies can make explode through. But it's when the firmament is opened up like a scroll, the lid of this realm, this container, and Christ is seen on the holy mountain in heaven. And that's when you open a pressurized container, if you could imagine opening a deodorant can, it's going to potentially explode or something, right? But you know, God is great, and he's not going to have the whole world explode when he opens it up to enter in. But there is going to be some sort of issues. Atmosphere is going to change. It's going to make things extremely impossible to see, because it's like on a cold winter's morning, and you go to work in your car and you're breathing hot air, and your windscreen condensates, and you know, it's kind of like how that's going to be when the lid's opened. It's going to be difficult to see. And all those that didn't believe in God are the ones that are going to be running to the mountains and saying to the rocks, fall on us. But those that did believe, despite the fact that it'll appear like the world's about to end or something crazy, you know, the sky is opening up or something, they'll still be standing there with their hands in the sky, calling out for their God, and they'll be raptured. And obviously when the lid opens, the stars are going to fall, and they'll fall directly down upon the flat earth, which is not a cult, by the way. And you shouldn't really be accusing your brothers of things, especially if you don't understand certain things. Anyway, and she's shaken of a mighty wind. Yes, so the stars won't come directly down, but they'll all be coming at an angle, at the same angle, wherever you're standing on the earth. And it will depart like a scroll. And yeah, Christ will be seen. So that will be the great rapture. And then directly after the rapture has taken place, the 144,000 are sealed. And this is now talking about which of these that are arrayed in white robes and whence they came they. And that's the people from the Great Rapture, which I would count as about 1.5 billion. So going back to my count numbers before, after death and hell came and took a quarter of man down to 5.7 billion, taking off 1.5 billion for the rapture, I've actually taken it down to 4 billion, because I've assumed maybe 200 million. This is going to be an event where potentially a lot of people might pass away again. So I've taken it down to 4 billion, which is 200 million extra. But you know, obviously it's going to be potentially a lot more than that. You know, this is going to be something, it's going to be such a great earthquake that, you know, a lot of buildings are going to fall in this moment, if not all. So now the total count at the rapture upon the earth after the rapture has taken place, I've got here is as 4 billion, which is half of what it will be, or is right now, at the time of the rapture within the next 7 years. And then, but obviously, like I said, that's best case scenario, so it's quite likely it's going to be somewhere down near 3 billion left on the earth. And then yeah, and this is talking about them coming off the earth, and they won't have to basically be upon the earth and experience the sun or light or any heat anymore. They'll be in that new realm in heaven, or paradise, should I say, the garden. And then we go to chapter 8. So this so far from chapter 4 to chapter 7 is a timeline, and it's still continuing. It's a timeline, it's going in time, and we will get to a point somewhere where it's no longer a timeline, but it's looking back over his shoulder and describing certain pinpoints of that timeline. So this is the 7th seal. After the rapture's happened, there was silence for a space of about half an hour, and then before the throne, the smoke of the incense and the prayers of the saints, took the censer, filled it with fire, cast it to the earth, and there was voices and thunderings. So the 7th seal is that angel casting that censer to the earth. And before that, the 144,000 were sealed somewhere as well. So there's the great multitude. So yeah, 144,000 sealed of Israel. Then there was the great multitude that's in heaven that was saved. And then the 7th seal takes place. So at this moment in time, we've got 3 to 4 billion people upon the earth. There's 144,000 sealed with the Holy Spirit. At this point in time, the bride would have left years before. The church has just left, and all that's left upon the earth is the godless, the idolatrous, and the house of Jude, the people that killed him and claimed to be Jews that are not. So all the people that would have confessed Christ in their lifetime and would have either lived or died for him, or both, they'll be taken. And then this 7th seal is then the point in time where 144,000 are the only people left on earth with the Spirit, and then the 7 trumpets begin. So what have I got here? Yeah, this bit gets crazy, by the way. So the first trumpet is, so hail, fire and blood cast to the earth, a third of trees and the grass is all burnt. So this is the destruction of the earth, as I showed in my old table that I had before. The first 7 years being the World War III and the Antichrist, and the second 7 years being the destruction of the earth and Satan. So this is basically part of the destruction of the earth. And then you go down, and the second angel sounded, and the second trumpet was fiery mountain cast into the sea. Third of life in and on the sea died. So you could say that that could potentially mean like people on boats and submarines could be the people on the sea. But in other places in Scripture, it does talk about how many dwelling places there are in the sea. So, you know, there could be beings, I don't know why I'm going to say this, but like mermaids in the ocean that live there and reside there that we don't really know about. So fiery mountains cast into the sea, and a third of life in and on the sea dies. and that's going to essentially kill people in the world as well, you know, because there's going to be less fish, food. It could affect freshwater sources, so it'd be less water. So this is going to be something that's going to affect people as well. Obviously, all of this is, and the words that they use, that John uses in the Bible, it seems very easy to say the words, but to live through the experiences are going to be a whole nother thing, you know. So the third, where's the third? The third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp. So this is another point of destruction, and this will fall upon the third part of the rivers and upon the fountains of waters. So this will further take away any ability for people to drink water or to even acquire water at this point in time after the rapture has taken place. Then we've got so with regards to the previous one, I've taken off 200 million for the star falling on the fresh waters, because water's pretty important. If there's no more water to drink anymore, then it's going to kill people. But once again, I'm currently at 3.8 billion people upon the earth after the third trumpet. So it could be a lot lower than that. So going back to it, so the fourth trumpet, a third of the skylights are smitten. So this means now that if there's famine before, which there was, there's definitely no chance of growing food anymore, or if it is, it's food that somehow manages to live on only 2/3 of light, whether that's the length of day or whether that's the brightness of day. Not too sure, but it's still going to prevent, with lack of water and lack of light, it's going to prevent anyone from growing food anymore at fourth trumpet. So now we're going down to the fifth trumpet. Which starts on a new page. And it's a star fall from heaven into the earth, unto the earth, and to him. So this star is an individual who was given the key to the bottomless pit, and he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose the smoke out of the pit, like a great furnace. So this smoke's going to be coming out thick and black and fast, kind of. What was that? Kind of like like a really thick fire. And there rose smoke out of the pit, and out of the great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. And there came out the smoke locusts upon the earth, and unto them was given power. So there's going to be Satan fall into the earth for the fifth trumpet, then being given the key to the bottomless pit. You know, there's many thoughts on that being potentially CERN or whatever, or anyway. He opens the pit and the locusts come out, and then people are tortured that have the mark of the beast for 5 months, and they seek death and cannot. After that, we've got the sixth trumpet. So at that point, you know, I didn't take any death count off, because it says that people would seek death and shall not find it, and should desire to die and not die. So I've not taken any off at that point. But then when we get to the next one, this is where everything goes crazy, because, you know, it's the fact that Satan is now literally on the earth, not able to go anywhere else because he's been cast here. This is the point where the Euphrates River is dried up, and the 4 angels are loosed and prepared for a season, for a year and a month and a day or whatever, to kill 1/3 of men. And bear in mind, at this point in time, Satan is on the earth, and he's just, you know, he's had these locusts that he's king over, and then these angels come out of the river and prepare for war to kill 1/3 part of men. And the war that they're going to go to fight with 200 million soldiers, most people at the moment would say that that's the Chinese. But No, most people are going to be like not very organised at this portion of time after all these things have happened. There's no way you're going to have 200 million men army available after all this has happened that I've spoken of so far. But if you read the Book of the Bee, the Carpenter's Son on YouTube, he's read this particular bit recently, but basically Alexander the Great, back in his day, there was giants that lived on the earth, and even now there's probably still giants now, but there was giants then, and they all lived in the northeast portion of Tartaria, which we now know as Serbia or Russia, you know. And he saw them doing such hideous things like cannibalism and such that he prayed to God and prayed that these two mountains, this one entrance and exit from this portion of land into this part of our world, the only way to get from one to the other was through these two mountains. So he prayed to God that God would bring the mountains closer together and shut them in. And God brought them so far, and then he built a wall for the rest of it, and he made it in a certain way that whether fire or water was to be used as a weapon against it, that it would not prevail. So that they're basically locked in and none of their witchcraft could overcome it. But in the end of days, as it's mentioned in the Book of Bee, these giants are released upon the earth. So I think that the four angels are going to be taking them giant cannibals as their soldiers to kill a third part of men. So at the moment, and up until this point in time, I had about 3.8 billion, between 3 and 3.8 billion people on the earth alive in the flesh. But when these soldiers come out, that number's going to go down by a third, down to, I've got 3.8 down to 2.5 billion. But once again, that could now actually be at 1.5 to 2.5 billion people left on the earth at the sixth trumpet. And then, excuse me, yeah, so there's the four angels were loose and prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year. So another point that, if anyone wants to look in more, this is talking about an hour and a day, and then the destruction of Babylon, it comes in an hour and it comes on a day. So don't know if there's any link to that or not. But the number of the army of the horsemen is 200,000, so 200 million. And they had breastplates of fire and jacinth and brimstone. And the heads of the horses were heads of lions, so these could, even their horses could be, you know, saber-toothed tigers or something. You know, who knows. So they're going to kill a third part of men, taking down, I've got 2.5 billion left on the earth. And then on the seventh trumpet, the mystery of God is complete. But here we see, before the seventh trumpet, so before the seventh trumpet, the angel has a little scroll standing upon the earth, on the sea and the earth. So is this explaining the two beasts, the beasts of the sea and the beasts of the earth, that then, like I said in another chapter, it will explain there's two beasts, one of the sea, one of the earth. And this is the point where, and then the seven thunders have uttered their voices, and he was about to write and he's told not to write. But John actually, at this point in time, after the sixth trumpet, before the seventh trumpet, is standing on the earth, taking a book off of him. Sorry, am I tripping out? See, like, not those things, those seven thunders uttered and write them not. And the angel just saw standing upon the sea and upon the earth, lifted up to heaven. That there should be time no more. In those days, the seventh angel, when he shall begin to sound, the mystery of God shall be finished. And the voice which I heard spake to me again, said, go and take the little, yeah, this is it, take the little book in which the hand the angel is standing, go to the sea and upon the earth. And he said to me, thou must prophesy again before many peoples and nations and tongues and kings. So this is where it gets a little bit confusing. For the next few chapters, it gets slightly confusing, and then it goes into descriptions of stuff. So at this point, go back slightly. Yeah, so this is still talking about the 6th trumpet. And it says there, in the days of the voice of the 7th angel. So at the beginning of the sound of the, and this is in the days of the 7th angel. So, you know, there's going to be a few days before each portion, possibly, depending on what I show you in a bit. And so at that point, it's talking about the 7th trumpet that's taking place, and then John's told to eat up the book and then go and prophesy. And then the next chapter it goes on to is about the 2 witnesses. So the 2 witnesses were released or let onto the earth after the rapture. So here it's saying, and there was given to me a reed like unto a rod, and to the angel stood saying, rise and measure the temple, and but not them that will witch out, and then it will be trod underfoot for 3.5 years, 42 months. So this is the point of the rapture, and he's saying, measure what's left. Who's still here in the temple after all the Christians and the church are gone? And I'll give unto my 2 witnesses, and they shall prophesy for 3.5 years in sackcloth. So John measures the temple, then the 2 witnesses appear, and nothing will be able to hurt them for 3.5 years. So this will be the first 3.5 years of trumpets as soon as the rapture takes place, and the 144,000 are sealed. So the 144,000 as well, as far as I'm aware, they're sealed and protected. They're, you know, they're not necessarily the workers, but they could be. But as far as I'm aware, it's the 2 witnesses that are the workers. And when they finish their testimony, the beast will, you know, come and kill them. And then after a few days, people will actually watch them resurrect, watch their dead bodies on the ground resurrect in front of them. And I think it says, and they that dwell upon the earth, where is it? They heard a voice from heaven saying to them, come up here, and they ascended up to heaven in a cloud, and their enemies beheld them. So, and their enemies are basically the people of the world that basically gave gifts and celebrated after they were killed. So this could be something that's so mainstream, it's on TV, on the news or something, I don't know. I don't watch TV, so I wouldn't even know if it happened. And I was here, I wouldn't know. And then here we go, we've got the 7th trumpet now. So you had all this stuff happen between the 6th and the 7th trumpet. The 6th trumpet being the 4 angels loosed, a year, a month and so of preparation, and then their 200 million soldiers sent out to kill 1/3 of men. And then you have the 144,000 sorry, the 2 witnesses. So this is going back from the end of the 7th trumpet back to the beginning of the 1st trumpet, and then they die before the 7th trumpet, right? So the 2 witnesses die just before, and resurrect, sorry, just before the 7th trumpet. So this is where it's starting to get funny, and it might have been confusing in the past and still probably is, but maybe a little bit more clarity comes along today. And yeah, the 7th trumpet is the mystery of God complete, and the temple opens in heaven and people will once again be able to see the heaven from earth. And there'll be a great hail and earthquake upon the earth. Right, so, and the dragon. So, I could be wrong, you know, this is just my understanding, and feel free to correct me, call me names or whatever you want, I don't care. But feel free to let me know if you have a different understanding or anything like that in the comments below. But the woman and the dragon would potentially be a dragon being Satan, the woman being the church, the woman giving birth to the child, and then the child being taken up unto heaven. This could potentially, and then the woman being protected out into the wilderness, in which she has a place prepared of God. This could potentially be Satan is standing before the church, waiting for the bride of Christ, the chosen people, to be born. So it could devour them. However, once they are on the earth, they will be taken up to heaven. So this could be representing the escape. And then the church would be protected through tribulation. It would be taken to a place and fed for 3.5 years. Excuse me. This is talking about the fifth trumpet, Satan thrown down. And as you might have noticed before, the seals and the trumpets are not the same. So, for example, the first seal was talking about white horse rider conquering. The first trumpet is talking about how fire and blood cast to the earth. Second seal is red horse rider, civil war. Second trumpet is fiery mountain cast into sea. Third seal is black horse rider judging. Third trumpet is great burning star fell and upon third of fresh waters. As you can see here, they're not the same, and the fifth seal is the martyrs being told to wait while the other martyrs are killed as they are. But the fifth trumpet is the star falls to earth with the key to the bottomless pit. The locusts tormenting for 5 months, where people wish to seek death but cannot get death. So you can see that the seals and the trumpets are not the same. And as I've shown just now, from the first seal to the seventh trumpet is a timeline that is shown and written in form of time. Now we're at portions where it's going back and describing certain points, which are probably points that we should focus on in time, on the timeline, because these are significant to know and to understand. So this is talking about the fifth trumpet and Satan's thrown down. And serpent casts out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away with the flood. But, you know, we know that he could be spewing lies, you know, saying that those people over there that didn't put their faith in science are going to create an even bigger scam across the world. So we need to stop them, you know, so something like that. And then, you know, people might be awake enough at that point in time to say, shut up, you liar. So then that's the earth swallowing up the flood. That's just an example anyway. So this is talking about, yeah, Satan thrown down. But you can also look at this as the powers that be upon the earth, losing their power upon the earth. But we'll get more into that in a minute as well. So chapter 13 is the chapter about the two beasts, the first beast and the second beast. And the first beast from the sea, and the second beast from the earth. So basically, at the moment, the laws that at least the Western world are subject to, or believe that to be subject to, are the laws of the sea. And basically, yeah, it's like pirate laws, the no-hide laws that we're subject to on at least the Western countries. So when it's talking here about the beasts of the sea, it's talking about the first of the two beasts being, let's say, politically speaking, the left. So it would be the Democrats. So it would be the NWO, the oppressors, would be this first beast. And then the first beast is killed, and it's comes back to life after just being killed by the sword. And the second beast, that comes from the earth, which is sovereignty, proper laws rather than pirate laws of the sea. So this could be the representation of liberty. So this could be potentially their right political person, whatever, overcoming the first one. But then, sorry, the first one is destroyed, which could be the rebellion of the people. And then the second beast comes up as one of those rebellious people, and ends up getting everyone to worship the first beast again. So the AI system that they half implemented before they were destroyed is then re-implemented by the opposition of the same people in power, so that they're still trying to pull in their NWO over their golden age, but using their golden age people to do it. Does that make sense? So the first and the second beast of the sea and of the earth. So the first one is the current powers, the royalty that rule the earth, are going to try and force everyone into the AI system. The second beast is the liberty portion that then of this puppet show that then appear to destroy these, but really it's the people that got wound up from all the oppression, which shows later on when it's talking about the destruction of Babylon. God actually tells people to go out and to torment Babylon and to give her double, even as she is given unto you. So in my understanding of that, if we get to it, those people that have been hurt the most by this system are likely going to be the ones out there going the maddest. And, you know, the people that do rule from behind the curtain in this world at the moment, they don't care for the kings or for the prime ministers or the priests. They don't even care for the money, even though they're the richest people and they own the money. You know, they've got their agenda and principles, and everyone to them, even probably their own family members, is expendable. So, you know, they want people to rebel and to do what they did to Gaddafi, you know, and killed him in the street and stuff. And then they want, through that chaos, they want to bring up their person that seems like he's right, but speaks like a dragon. Speaks like he's wrong. Anyway, carrying on. So here we're talking, it talks about the lamb and 144,000. And something about, with regards to, I think it's in the Book of the Bee as well, it talks about when Christ comes, he will stand on the mountain and he'll split it open, and he will choose people to go in and to be saved. And on this table here, I had assumed, because I haven't got to the 7 bowls yet, I had assumed that this is how the 7 trumpets would lay out. Before I had trumpet 1, trumpet 2, 3, 4, so a year per trumpet. Looking a little bit over things now and the timescales of what each trumpet and seal is, you can see how some actually might occur next to each other. Not saying this is exactly it yet, but basically had all this happening, the 6th trumpet with the 4 angels prepped for a year, and then in this year the mass death with Satan still on the earth, the 4 angels and the giant cannibals. But then Christ turns up to end it, and he saves the 144,000 in the mountain. He splits the mountain open and then takes them in, and then it's the official second coming of Christ. So that's what I had for that. But I've got it different now. And messages of the 3 angels, once again representing the 3 groups. So there's not just Christian and Jews, there's Christian and Jews and you know, the bride, the elect. But yeah, this is talking about the 7 vials that are to come. So this is the bit that I think maybe a lot of people as well not noticed stuff before. Actually, is it not just yet? The 3 angels, so this is the way I would see it, just even looking at the title, without reading what it's talking about, is there's 3 portions of time, you know, the bride, the church and the Jews. And then the harvest of the earth would obviously be the church, which is the great rapture. So it's showing different points of time in this up to 14 years of tribulation of what's going to happen and where. And then if you understand how the Gospels and other books are laid out, as a timeline as well, you can look at that map and compare them to Revelation as a key to a key. And you know, if you also listen to Robert Farrell from Apocryphal 1970 and Carpenter's Son as well, and Zen Garcia, they go into all these other scriptures and stuff that you don't often hear about if you only stick to the Gospel and to the Bible. But this is talking about the Great Harvest and how lots of people are going to die, and it's going to be a wine press up to the horse's bridle and stuff. So there's going to be the harvest of the chosen being taken out, and then the harvest of the tares being burnt. So this is talking about once all the people are gone that are chosen, there's going to be mass death for those that are left behind, and it happens after the escape, it happens after the rapture, and then, you know, it happens throughout the time as well. But yeah, and I saw 7 angels with 7 plagues. In my previous video as well, I said that there were 7 seals, 7 trumpets and 3 bowls. It's 7, 7 and 7. And what I noticed is these 7 plagues, or 7 vials, or 7 bowls are in fact, or could in fact be the 7 trumpets. So let me see if I can try and show it. So having the 7 last plagues, so being with the understanding that the rapture isn't for another 6 or 7 years, and then after that rapture, then the 7 last plagues, which is the 7 trumpets, take place, filled up with the wrath of God. So Christ has taken all those that are not condemned, and now God is going to put his wrath upon those that are left. And the sea of glass mingled with fire is the people standing on top of the firmament. So they'll be standing above the firmament. And yeah, and it will be mingled with fire, because at the moment of the great rapture there's going to be mountains of fire falling from the sky and stuff, you know, as I've explained in the trumpets. So yeah, so those that refused the mark, whether they were dead or alive at the time of the rapture, and those that confess Christ and those that live righteously, will go, and they'll be on the top of the firmament. Have the song of Moses. Sorry, as I went through this yesterday and the day before, I was picking up so many points in my head, I just didn't get them all written down. So when I'm having gaps of speaking, it's me trying to remember what I was thinking before. But here we go, the 7 bowls of God's wrath. When you look at these 7, hang on. So yeah, this is talking about when Christ will come to save those, as I said before, to split the Mount of Olives open and save the 144,000 into it. So this is like after the 6th bowl or the 6th trumpet, before the 7th bowl or the 7th trumpet. So normally after the 6th seal or the 6th trumpet, well, after the 6th seal is the rapture. So then after the 6th trumpet is God saving the 144,000 once again before the rest of the destruction takes place. And then the 7th bowl being a great earthquake and all the mountains and stuff flowed away and were not found, which sounds much like the rapture as well, but this would be the 7th trumpet. So here's the description of the great prostitute and the beast. The great prostitute basically, and the beast being the system we live in and those that control it and live abundantly off it. I mean, I could spend so many hours just going through each verse of each chapter and my limited understanding. But the whole point of this today is just to show the table that I haven't yet shown you yet. But this is now describing, yeah, the destruction of the great prostitute and the beast. And I take my understanding from going through this and reading it, and I could do more videos if people want to hear it, as to the destruction of the beast completely being at the time of the rapture, or the 6th or 7th seal. And that's the point in time, which we'll get to soon, where God says, give unto them double, torment her as she has tormented you. Is it even in here? And restores the beast that shall hate the whore and shall make her desolate and naked. So the whole system will be destroyed by the new system. One beast devouring another. And then the fall of Babylon. Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers. So, you know, there's a lot of people out there that are doing great work at the moment, trying to convince people and to inform them about the world and how to get out of the bad parts of it, such as sovereignty and your rights as a natural being of God and as a living man. But mixing that in with getting people to start war with the people that are oppressing us, I don't think is the best idea, because once people start doing bad things, it sears their conscience, and they are no longer any better than those that they were fighting against. Do you know, if that makes any sense? But if we do things in a smart way and let them set up their traps, but never fall into their traps, then they will eventually have to fall into their own traps, because they plastered all their traps everywhere around themselves. But if you can weave in and out and be like water, then no trap will hold you. Yeah, so this is a point where it's saying, come out of the system, you know, come out of the world, and don't join in with the plagues that are about to hit her. So this is talking about before the trumpets, because the plagues are the 7 vials, or the 7 bowls, 7 trumpets. So that's why I have my understanding that the destruction of Babylon will be around the time of the rapture. So that would be 6 or 7 years from now, and that will give time for them to do World War III and use up all of the military stuff that they've constructed and built and prepared for this time over the years. And then it gives time also for the Antichrist to try and impose the mark of the beast on the world, the AI system of ultimate monitoring, spying and control of the people. And then the rapture happens, and then the trumpets happen, where you have the destruction of the earth and you have Satan and the angels. So it's going to be a very supernatural thing after the rapture. Anyone that's left, all of the godless and those that call themselves Jews that killed Christ, all those types of people will experience very supernatural things. But it's saying here, at this point around the time of this, oh yeah, it's because of the plagues, so it's around after the rapture, around the 7th seal, 1st trumpet time, that is when the destruction happens. So yeah, maybe the world will see God come through the firmament, save a whole bunch of people, a massive vanishing will happen. They'll remember years before a smaller vanishing happened that was obscure, but then they'll realise that, you know, that God is real, and then they'll turn on the system that has turned them away from God, and they'll devour it. And then yeah, then all the rich people at that point will realise that all the money they've acquired can no longer do anything for them, because no one will buy or sell anything anymore of the system. People would have at this point would have had enough, that the people that are left, and obviously starving and dying and stuff. And yeah, just another thing, I don't say all these things because I want to put fear into people. So I tell people these things because we've been given the understanding, we've been given the description of what's going to happen, and whether people believe in it or not is their choice. But I do believe in it, and I have to share what I can. You know, if you've got a neighbour and you know that something's going to happen to them, would you not warn them before it happens to help them? You know, if not, then that's not very nice. So, you know, the watchers have got to watch, and they've got to warn, they've got to blow the trumpets. That's basically why there was always a precursor to Christ. You know, you had people witness Christ before Christ was here. I, John the Light. Yeah, so 1 hour the riches have come to naught, and every shipmaster and all the companies, everyone is all crying from a distance and weeping and pitiful because they can't make money anymore. And these two verses, yeah, 18:6 and 18:8. Reward her even as she has rewarded you, and double unto her, give double according to her works. In the cup that she has filled, fill to her double. This is where God is telling the people that they now have the power to destroy the beast that has had power over them. And that's when the freedom fighters will come up. But unfortunately, those that do the abominable things, like the murdering and the stuff like that, of the ones they judge as wicked, they're going to be judged, unfortunately, as murderers. Do you know what I mean? So it's a very fragile situation in the end of days as to where you stand and what you do. You just got to, as far as I'm aware, you just got to keep your eyes on Christ and do the right thing, and try not to throw anyone under the bus. You know, try and help people. So this is the Fall of Babylon, talking about it. And Rev 18:8. This is the one that changed everything and made me recreate the table. So when I drew out that table that I've shown you, and then I thought, oh no, I wanted to know if these arrows are in the right places or not, or maybe if I could change them, make them a little bit more accurate. But 18:8. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day. So when we're looking at what the plagues were, which is the vials, and the vials being the bowls and the bowls being the trumpets. So let me just show you why I think the bowls and the trumpets are the same. The first one is not a very good example, but all the rest are. So the first trumpet is hellfire and blood cast to the earth. First bowl is grievous sores for people with the mark of the beast. Can't really say they're the same, but you know, they could have connections. Second trumpet, fiery mountain cast into sea, third of life of sea died. Second bowl, seawater turned to blood and all sea life killed. So you can see there is a connection there. Then third trumpet, great burning star fall upon third of fresh waters. Third bowl, fresh waters turned to blood for drinking. Fourth trumpet, third of sky light smitten, sun, moon and stars. Fourth bowl, sun scorches men with fire. Fifth trumpet, Starfall from Earth with key to pit. Locust torment 5 months. 5th bowl. Upon the beast, so the kingdom is full of darkness. Yeah, the 5th bowl is poured upon the beast, and then the kingdom is full of darkness. And then you got the 6th trumpet. 4 angels loosed and prepared for a year to kill men. 6th bowl. Dries Euphrates for 4 angels to prep the kings of the east. And then the 7th trumpet is the mystery god complete, and the 7th bowl is the greatest earthquake and hail, which would be far greater than what was experienced in the Great Rapture. But this would be at the end of trumpets. So, if you notice what I said there, therefore shall her plagues come in one day. And we know we've got God, a day is like a year. A year is like a day, or 1,000 years even as well. But, so this made me think, hang on a minute. Oops. If they were all done in a year, then this can't happen like this. You know, you can't have 1st and 2nd trumpet this year, 3rd and 4th that year, 5th that year, so and so. So at this point in time, I thought, hang on, yeah, this is looking all right. And you've got the 144,000 having just over 3.5 years, given the time for the sealing of them. The 2 witnesses having just over 3.5 years as well to do their thing. However, after seeing that the plagues will be poured out in one day or 1 year, I made this table. Where you gone? This one. So it still looks pretty much exactly the same, but let me explain. So before we had the 7 years and the 7 years, and you had the rapture and then the Christ reign. Whereas here, you know, if this is, once again, if the bride escapes before 1st of Tishri in September this year, then this number should be a 2, this number should be a 3, and everything should go back a number. But if it happens at Tabernacles, then it's like this. But you've got the bride escape would occur, then the 1st and the 2nd seal would occur not long after. Within a couple of months, all that would happen. So then at that point, you've got World War III, Civil War and World War happening for a couple of years, 2.5 years. And then in between that, you've got the 3rd seal and the 4th seal, which is famine and death. So during that war where people are getting killed by weapons, there's also people dying from lack of food. And also people just dying in faith as well. Some. And then in 2025, which is also about the time that I believe the US president switch or whatever, you've got the mark of the beast and the Antichrist. And this, after the famine has occurred and a lot of people have died, is where they try to implement the system, the AI, after 2025. And if you've seen that thing on the military population count predictions for the future, shows that, you know, 2025 they reckon that, I don't know, I think it was more than half of the earth is not going to be here anymore. But I've shown you that there will be more than that, even at the end here. So you've got the mark of the beast going on for a while. Then you've got the 6th seal and the church rapture, and the 144,000 sealed, and the 2 witnesses come down. And this all happens, obviously not on the same day, but around the same time. And with regards to the clues in the Gospels, with Luke being after 8 days or 8 years is the escape, and then after 6 days after that is the rapture, and then after 6 days after that is the return of Christ. So if bride escape happens at the beginning of this year, you know, if it's, for example, if the beginning of the year is 1 Tishri, then in Septemberish time, then Tabernacles in October, that would actually be right at the beginning of the year. So the rest of that year would count as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So after the 6 years, so yeah, that might actually be there. So the 6th seal on the church rapture might actually be at the end of 2028 to 2029. So, but at the beginning of this one, so early 2029. So after 6 days, and then after 6 more days, actually brings you back to here. So I've done it here at the beginning of it, because Christ is going to also come early, else no flesh will be saved. And if you consider that, if this is at the point in time where he has to come earlier or no flesh will be saved, and then all this further destruction goes on, he's obviously going to be coming early for the rest as well. You know what I mean? So then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days from then is the middle of that year. So we're taking into account as well what I read from Revelation 18:8, God's bowls of wrath time, the 7 trumpets, and the bowls of wrath would be poured out in 1 day or 1 year. That could potentially mean that this happens here. This is going from as early as possible. So you would actually also have, excuse me, above the 6 trumpets here, you'd have the 7th seal, and then you'd have the first 6 trumpets throughout the year. The 7th trumpet being Christ's return, so it's not a plague per se, but it's the return of Christ. So I could be wrong, but I've put it there. So you've got the rapture taking place potentially 2028 to 2029, or 2029 to 2030, somewhere around here. And when it happens, you'll have the 7th seal and the 6 trumpets all happen within a year. And then that means that the 2 witnesses and Satan are all going to be released right after the rapture, potentially. And then the 2 witnesses do their time, and so does Satan. But at the beginning, Satan and the angels, 4 angels are released as well. So the 4 angels are released and given a year and a month and a day to prepare. And then at the same time, the locusts are going about for Satan. And then Satan kills the witnesses. That's this point here. And then they resurrect. And about that time as well is when the 4 angels and the giant cannibals from Tartaria ways come and devour the earth. And then Christ will return after the 7th trumpet, and the millennial reign will begin after that. So at this point, where Christ could return to save the people, the 144,000 in the Mount of Olives, I don't know. It could be at this point after the 2 witnesses die. It could be here before the final great earthquake, which will leave no rock upon another on the whole earth before Christ returns. I don't know, but you can see how vastly different they are. You know, everything's spread out nice and evenly, but some things do happen quicker than others, and we do have a verse telling us that all the plagues were poured out in a day, so leading to this potentially happening. Now I know this kind of knocks off the 14-year thing slightly by 2 or 3 years, but what if we've got it slightly wrong, and this is the intention, was the Christ millennial reign to begin around 2033 to 2035, and the 14 years began around 2020, you know, 2019 to 2021. So then if that was the case, wouldn't the worldwide scam be the marker of the beginning of the final 21 years? Does that make sense? So yeah, I just wanted to share that today, and if you've got any comments or you've spotted anything that I haven't, or you want to add any more information, please do. But basically, yeah, what I found is best case scenario, there's going to be best case for people in the flesh. Best case scenario for them is there's going to be 2 billion people left on the earth after the 7th trumpet, or at the 7th trumpet. But that's obviously likely to be between 500 million and 1 billion, a lot lower than the numbers as I said before, I've given best case scenarios. So that if it went down to 500 million, that would also tie in with the Georgia Guidestones that the wicked ones were attempting to do. But you know, they're the planners of death, and God's the master of life. So personally, I think there's going to be more than 500 million people left on the earth for the millennial reign. But that's just my thoughts, and I haven't seen anything to back that up. But yeah, I hope that's helped people, and if you've got anything to say, like I say, let me know, and take care, and I do hope to see you all soon. God bless. Bye bye.